I need rewarded to do things. Do a thing, get rewarded, Michaela happy. Hey everyone, my name is Michaela, but you can call me Mick, and welcome back to my channel. So every week I was doing writing updates because I was going to be writing my first draft in 9 weeks. I hadn't hit my goals for 2 weeks in a row, and I gave myself grace, but I told myself last week that if I did not hit my goals this week, that I would change the plan. Spoiler alert, I did not hit my goals this week. And that's okay. I actually figured out what I've been doing wrong this week, and that's what I want to talk about. I have been treating my 0 draft like a first draft, and in my head, they're completely different things. My writing process has just changed so much over the years, but one thing that has always rang true is I am such a slow first drafter. And then I get into this like downward spiral of, oh my gosh, am I not a writer because I hate writing the first draft most of the time. And oh my gosh, I can't get this out. Like, what am I doing wrong? No, it's okay. I know where my strengths lie. My strengths lie in the editing portion. Mine lie in figuring out what's missing and what needs to be taken away. I like the chiseling aspect of a story, which is why I like to analyze stories so much. For some reason, the first draft process really takes me a long time because I'm constantly overanalyzing the words I'm saying because they're not good in the beginning. Like I've said before, I'm still learning the story, I'm still learning the tone, the setting, the world, etc. So I fell into the trap where I said I was 0 drafting, and then I just started first drafting the book. And so then I'm like, why aren't I hitting my goals? Why am I getting stuck? Well, that's why. Probably because Camp Nano was happening in July, and I've been treating it like Camp Nano. I've been treating it like a first draft. My goal is word-based. The 0 draft doesn't need to be a specific amount of words. I don't even know why I made a word-based goal. I also gave it a time base. Even though I wasn't going to be available for like the first 2 weeks of Camp Nano, I still locked myself into a time with a very strict regimen. And that just doesn't work for my brain. I need rewarded to do things. Do a thing, get rewarded, Michaela happy. So that's how I'm going to rework my writing plan. And just a reminder that you can always rework your plan. You can change the course of what you need to do. I need to change the course. So if you're like me, where the first draft always seems hard to get through, like you just can't push yourself through it and you get stuck, or you get stuck in a, editing while you're writing spiral, maybe this plan will work for you. And this is what I should have done from the very beginning, but I was just so excited to jump in that I forgot I was supposed to be 0 drafting, and everything spiraled from there. So the first question to answer is, what is a 0 draft and how is it different from a first draft? For me, a 0 draft is something where I don't have to know everything just yet. And I need to remind myself that. I've been talking about that on the channel, but let's break down what I do not know about my book. I know where it's set, but I don't know the implications of that setting yet. I know kind of some world building aspects, but I don't know it as deep as I should. I know who my characters are, but I don't fully understand their motivations yet. So it may seem like I know nothing, and that is true, but that is what the 0 draft is for. The first draft in my head is where I'm actually sitting down, and now I take all that information and I write it out word for word. I write everything. It's really just, it's the story. It's just the first version. I just know I can't do that yet. I need to be able to do insert something here. I need to be able to have room to learn and understand the world building and the magic rules and the characters in kind of like a sandbox environment. So I think where I went wrong is I set out to zero draft, but then I just started writing. And there were some bracket scenes where I'd be like, insert something here. I don't know what to do here. They're gonna say something like this. But it still was a story, and I just was getting tripped up over words in my prose. I'm going to go back to the outline that I created with all of you using the 6-act story structure. And now I'm going to take the chapter by chapter outline that I did, and I'm going to just dive deeper. So let's take a look at my new plan, and I'd love to know if it's something that all of you would be interested in doing, or maybe something that I do might click for the way that you think as well. Or maybe you're like, Michaela, that's crazy. And that's fine. I know it is. Okay, so I think part of my problem is I was doing a lot of digital planning, which is fine. I really liked outlining in Excel. I'm an Excel girly, and it worked for me. But I do my best writing when it is physically on paper, and I hadn't done that yet, and I think that's what I was missing. The best steps for success for me for how to plan a zero draft is going to be as follows. Step 1 is obviously turn an idea into a plot, which I already did with all of you. Next would be to make sure I have a base understanding. You guys are really going to see how horrible my handwriting actually is. Of characters, setting, world building, and theme. You don't have to know everything, but I think it's important to have this part from your idea. And we already did that. Then I think that it's best to outline, which we also already did. So my problem was I took these 3 steps. I did a chapter by chapter outline very vaguely, and then I really just jumped into the writing portion. But I think there's some more steps I need to do on how to make it more of a zero draft and less of a first draft. In the outlining portion, I want to really create that is robust. I think in my previous outlining video, I talked about creating a chapter by chapter outline with a ton of bullet points. Well, I actually ended up not doing it because it took me so long. And I just kind of rearranged what I put in the outlining portion into a chapter by chapter flow. So I knew like a tagline of each chapter. But for this zero draft, I want to go in and I want to really draw out what should be happening every single chapter. So how I'm going to do that is 2 different ways. And this might seem like overkill, but for some reason, this is just how my brain works. I need a digital format, but I also need a pen to paper format. So I'm first going to write out each chapter on a note card. So this is going to be the physical portion. Then, once I have all of the chapters in note card form, I'm going to then be able to digitally write out each chapter. Now I will have a physical portion and a digital portion. I'm going to actually be putting the physical portion on my wall, and I'll show you guys what that looks like with some help of some washi tape. The next step is actually going to be me reading through this chapter by chapter outline. And I'm going to put on my analytical hat because it's something I love to do. And like I already said, that's my strength. So I want to lean into that as much as possible within my own writing process. I'm good at, I think, taking something, a story for what it is, and figuring out what it needs to add and what it needs to take away. So that's what I'm going to do in a couple different ways. First, we definitely want to see that. We want to see what needs added versus taken away. And this writing is crazy. I will type this up for you guys so you guys can have it in a digital format if you want to use this for yourselves. I don't know. This is just going to be my new process I'm going to try out, leaning into my strengths. So I first want to see what needs added and then what needs taken away. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy sticky notes for something. Like I said before, in the zero draft, I don't have a firm understanding yet of characters, setting, world building, theme, etc. I want to highlight that by starting to piece that together. So then I'm going to basically take notes on my own story for character development, setting. I'm going to do setting / tone and world building. So this is going to be like my note-taking portion. And I'm going to use sticky notes on the physical diagram using note cards, as well as doing it digitally. Maybe not actually. Maybe this would be a good way to also just print it out and take some notes. I'm a pen to paper girly at heart. So I will create that chapter by chapter outline in a physical and digital format. I'm going to read through the chapter by chapter outline, see what needs added versus taken away, take some notes on the 3 aspects that I'm a little bit fuzzier on in my story. Then there's 2 more things I want to add to this new process that I'm doing. 1, I want to try and answer questions that I have. As I've been outlining, doing the chapter by chapter outline, and then even starting to actually write the first couple of chapters in Act 1, I've been writing a series of questions just that I need to answer. And I think I still need to do that, doing this chapter by chapter outline. But once this note taking is all done, I want to try to answer any of the questions that I have. They don't have to be answered at this stage, but I think it would be a good time to try and answer them now once this story from start to end is even more fleshed out. And then the last step before we would ever see a first draft, and then I think before I start really writing, I want to do a couple of tonal passes. So for tonal passes, it's going to be similar to what I explained for fleshing out my characters. For fleshing out my characters, I throw them all into a situation like Disney World, and I see how they interact with each other. I want to take a couple of like my favorite scenes that I'm going to create in this chapter by chapter outline, and I want to write it in a couple different ways. I have been struggling, I think, sometimes to find my writing voice since I took a pretty big gap of writing. And it's a muscle I have to flex again. So I want to do a couple tonal passes so that I feel more confident once I actually start writing, that I won't have to like overanalyze my words all the time. So now that I have this plan for Zero Draft, we've already done a couple of these. I accidentally started writing. I want to kind of go back to the drawing board here. Let's create this chapter by chapter outline. Okay, so here's just a couple examples of me putting my chapters into scene cards. So I have chapter 1, scene 1 here, where I have just like a little description of what's going on. I already put my washi tape on because I'm going to stick this on my wall and make a lovely little serial killer board. And I already actually took some notes of questions that I have. So I know that I put this in my plan for farther down. So we're going to be here creating a chapter by chapter outline. And then after I'm done, I'm going to read through it and kind of take notes on what I wrote. But I already knew from trying, honestly, and kind of failing to write this first chapter is that I have a lot of questions for myself. So I already put them on a sticky note, and this is how I'm going to hang it up on the wall. I feel more confident for chapter 2, which I have already written. And there are 2 scenes in chapter 2. I'm going to mark if this is like a story beat, and scene 2 in chapter 2 is actually the catalyst. You can see also that I wrote like the venue that we're at and also just background info. So I know I'm going to have to do like some info dumping. Not all info dumping is bad, everyone. I just know I need to work that in to the plot in this chapter. Okay, sorry the lighting is horrible over here, but if you can see the vision, this is where all my crazy writing is going to go. Okay, so this is what I already have, starting with Act 1, which is dealing with an imperfect situation. I'm going to put all of the chapter and the scene cards here, any notes I have over here. Like, Michaela, why are you doing a physical version and a digital version? Well, it's because that's how my brain works. I like the physical aspect of like writing everything down on the note cards and the sticky cards because if I need to move things around easily, I can visually see it. If that makes sense? I'm a very visual person. I also like puzzles. So once I start to figure out if there's something missing or things I need to be taken away, I can visualize that instead of just putting it into a giant Word document. Also, when I'm about to take this digitally, so what I could fit on one note card, I'm probably gonna write like a page for chapter 1. Once I finish that, I'm going to actually print it out and also take notes on it. So that should be available for you guys to like see that process on the next writing update. My little helper. So this is going to take me a while, but I'm about to get started of just doing this process for all of my chapters, and I'm hoping that this works. Once I finish this entire checklist, that's when I'm going to be considered done with the 0 draft. Then I will feel comfortable to actually start writing the whole book. Thank you so much for watching this week. I'm so sorry. I feel like I gave you guys false hope. I was like, yeah, write a first draft in 9 weeks. And then now, week 3, I'm like, actually, no, we're gonna restart, try that again, and move forward. So I'm still going to be giving you guys writing updates, but I wanna make sure that these writing updates are meaningful to you. I wanna share everything about my book, but you know, it's scary to share all the details about it on the internet. Some of you could take it, which wouldn't be nice. We don't want that. But outside of that, if I do end up publishing this book, I don't want you guys to all know the secrets, right? I want you to read it for yourself if that ever becomes a thing. So I want to make sure I'm structuring these writing updates in a way where I've gotten a lot done and I can share my insights with you guys. So instead of doing it weekly, in fear that every week I'm gonna come and sit right here and tell you all that I failed miserably, I really hope that's not the case. To prevent that from happening, I'm going to actually go to writing updates every 2 weeks to give myself more time to get stuff done, really sit with my thoughts, and then share them with all of you. But thank you again for watching my chaotic writing updates on the journey of Michaela failing and failing and failing until we eventually succeed, because we will succeed, because failure is just a part of it, I hear. So we gotta remind ourselves that. If you wanna follow me along on this crazy writing journey and learn more about writing craft and diving deep into books and other pop culture events with a writing lens, then look no further than this channel. So go ahead and subscribe now. We would love to have you in our community. And if you like this video, if you could give it a nice little thumbs up, it does help the YouTube gods show people this video and know where to find us. If you liked this new plan, if you want to yell at me for failing, or if you want to commiserate because you're also maybe failing your goals and you need to rework them and that's okay, then leave a comment down below. I love chatting with you guys and I love hearing all the updates on your writing journeys. Okay, that's all I got. Talk to you all soon. And whatever you do, don't stop writing. Bye, writers.